Hey friends, in today's video, I'm going to go over my first impressions of the new Checkmate modifier and game mode that came to Destiny 2 recently. The format of this video is going to show my reference slides on the side, along with examples on screen and generic background gameplay. First and foremost, the feedback is mostly for the developers. It's not going to be all-inclusive or hyper-specific, so the video is a little bit more digestible to all. Often when fans ask why PvP isn't prioritized, we're given a chicken or the egg answer. If nobody's playing PvP, then it might not be invested in. But if it isn't being invested in, then it's no surprise that no one's playing. If there's any takeaways from this video, it's that Checkmate has a great foundation and should continue to be prioritized and invested in. I alluded to it, but Checkmate is a modifier, not a game mode. As for the game mode feedback, power ammo is too frequent, the length is too short, and I kind of prefer Iron Banner's zone control format, think like Battlefield Ticket Bleed, than the kill-based scoring. But despite that, the mode does a good job of incentivizing movement with rewards to special ammo and cooldowns. There are obvious outliers. I want to get these out of the way first because someone always rushes to the comment section to be like, you didn't say the most broken thing in the mode. Well, here they are. Fighting Lion, bows, hand cannons remaining the same and everything else around them being nerfed, the amount of eager edge ammo off the wall along with third-person hilting, that should just be a standard across the game, not just in competitive, and finally the Vex Mytho class. There are probably a couple others that I didn't have enough playtime to see, but just know that these are probably going to get hit. They're way obviously out of band. What are my favorite likes of the Checkmate game mode? Well, there's so much good in the mode, it's really hard to narrow down my absolute favorites, but if I had to, I like that it takes 3 neutral melees to kill, and I wouldn't even be opposed to it dealing less damage. This is a result of the increased health pool, which has other benefits like not feeling instantly deleted by teamfire, since the precision ratio can be different. The health pool is really what's responsible for this though. It allows for a better margin of error to avoid being punished for being curious, but is at the correct Goldilocks zone to keep players from being sloppy with their play. The next thing I'm excited about is less ability potency and uptime. The gunplay to ability presence ratio feels so much nicer, and the player's left with less moments of watching a VOD back and having no idea how they could have prevented that death or used the moment to win the game better. Map pool. This is equally important to the game mode present. The health pool plays a hand in making the maps play better by harmonizing TTK, recovery time, movement speed in relation to available map cover. It's literally the sprint Halo debate, if you've been in the FPS community for a while. It all has to harmonize for it to make sense. Also, the ability potency in vanilla leads to some areas of the map being impossible to navigate. They're like literally the size of a renewal dust field, and if there's enough of them, you just can't play that side of the map. So now, I also like new levers to special ammo balance. This could be the amount of special gained, the time it takes to acquire it, and these inherently make the ammo feel more special. This doesn't mean that I'm content with special weapon strength / easy use in vanilla across the entire game. Now, what are my most significant dislikes of Checkmate? This doesn't mean that I dislike the mode, I want to make this abundantly clear. But these small gripes are speed bumps to me enjoying the mode and making it a permanent home of my play sessions. Weapon balance is the most significant one. Outside of obvious outliers, 120/140 hand cannons feel like the only competitive options. And considering that I already think these are my winning formula in vanilla, essentially everything else got weaker and hand cannons stayed the same. I know there are a lot of hand cannon fans in Destiny 2, so I'm really just here to say how I feel, not how it can be fixed. Because the mode is primarily primary first, I'm noticing the game-wide pain point of weapon flinch, screen shake, and ground landing aim punch. Next dislike is special needs to be readable. I particularly enjoy the early portion of the match, where I'm able to be curious and aggressive in a primary v primary fight, but when special's in the mix, part of the map can become too risky to play around. This makes me very hesitant to load in with double primary. There is a skill set that comes with reading the game state, and that's something I can improve on. The reason I feel competent with double primary in the vanilla game is that primary lethality has a faster TTK, and only 2 special ammo is sometimes not enough to cover the revive game modes, especially with team balancing. Let's talk about the special ammo system. it is way better than I anticipated with anything I read ahead of time. And since special ammo is earned but persists on death, it does feel like it's only reserved for special cases. I also like the early, mid, and late game strats that come with this system. Ultimately, I think its readability can be better. Like, I don't know when they have special ammo sometimes. It's really just a vibe check because the feed can be so congested. And as I play this more, I think the amount given to certain special weapon types, like whether it's a fusion rifle or a grenade launcher or something, it may need to be revisited in the future. I like that this is a new lever to augment the strength of specials. Let's talk about double primary viability, since that is something important to me. So I mentioned this a little bit. You can snowball the lead, but it really depends on the length of the game mode in proportion to special uptime. Depends on the amount and frequency of special for how much of the proportion of the game that double primary is there by itself. I mentioned you don't have to step on the zone. The most successful double primary build, in my opinion, is floating around with a Dawn Blade with a scout rifle. In Checkmate, scouts are inherently weaker, and I kind of like this design, but I do think that there is value in the safety of range. You can make the kit well-rounded with an SMG or sidearm, and I really can't justify a scout shotgun combo. It's too soon to tell if it's an absolute lock like it is in vanilla, but in theory, the 180 box scout should offer the most flexibility. So I really want to stress this one. This is more about how I feel, not what the solutions are. Why is double primary enjoyable to me? In Destiny, there are 4 engagement ranges. Melee distance, everybody has a melee. Then there's close, mid, and long. So there's really only 3, with some hybrid coverage between them. But for argument's sake, let's just say there's 4. Double primary allows me to cover 2 of those all of the time. It allows me to navigate the map and have more presence in fights. Special ammo requires sacrifice to having better range coverage in exchange for a sole range option. Despite one-hit kills being very strong and pivotal, it feels like it could slow down the gameplay either trying to play around not having the range coverage or trying to preserve its ammo. In those moments, I miss having the flexibility of the power ammo system of Year 1. In the current landscape of the game, shotguns are the corner checker whose universal respect can allow for more primary fights. This is why I see shotguns as the lesser evil special weapons. Regardless, shotguns make it unrealistic to follow up damage, since on some maps, the shotgun distance is the objective. So you can get a player to 1 health, but if you cross the corner to clean it up, you're also in one-hit kill territory because of the shotgun existing. At least in this mode, you have to read the game state and make a prediction on who has special based on the phase of the game and what the kill feed informs. In a high-skill vacuum, more primary fights will happen in Checkmate than in vanilla. There's always an archetype of player, though, that will find a way to fly forward with success no matter what. But at least in Checkmate, they'll put some checks in place to wound that playstyle. Also, just a universal thing here. I don't count bows as a primary weapon. I feel like those are infinite ammo snipers, vanilla or Checkmate. I really hope bows get looked at in the future. Ability economy. This is going to need several passes. It adds new levers/dials to hit this Goldilocks zone of balance that takes into account uptime and potency that otherwise can disrupt gunplay. So far, it almost goes without saying, I like the current iteration of Checkmate much more than vanilla. It provides a healthier opportunity cost. I'll revisit this thought again though in the future because skill-based matchmaking can reveal what is really out of band in regards to uptime and potency. And remember, a build is more than just the exotic armor choice. As we see teams combining the entire sandbox with each other, we'll then know what is problematic. This begs the question, are neutral exotic armors the only pick in Checkmate? This has been a point of contention in my Twitch chat lately. At first glance, neutral exotics like T-Step seems like an auto-lock pick for gameplay since abilities are less potent and available. But upon further thought, in a mode with limited access to special ammo and power spike abilities, exotics that augment the explosiveness and uptime of abilities can be even more pivotal to a winning strategy, since when compared to vanilla, almost all abilities are already that. For example, throwing knives one hit in vanilla, so I would just run Stompies. But in Checkmate, regaining that one-hit ability puts Arthurus arguably more on the menu than in vanilla. I call this a value shift. Year 1 Wormhusk is a great example of too much power too frequently, especially when we had similar times to kill. Current Checkmate definitely strikes that balance much better. So let's go over some example of value shifts across the game. I say Discord and Lightweight to start. Discord because it helps extend your special ammo, and Lightweight because sometimes you don't have special ammo and could just use your empty shotgun to sprint around the room. There are tempo perks like Frenzy, Perfect Float, and Focus Fury that for just playing your life give you some sort of bonus. There are things that are also bad now, like Well-Rounded, since you have less access to grenades and melees, proccing Well-Rounded is really difficult. In a similar vein, Demolitionist, Pugilist, and Wellspring can help recharge your abilities. Think about it, target lock is better, the Aikilos trait to reload weapons. Note that the Guardian health is around 230, so as a result, any weapon that has their optimal TTK reduced, then their magazines are also effectively smaller. Any generic SMG role feels like they are now single target weapons instead of comfortably fitting in a double kill, sometimes even 3. Fragments like Sparkle Momentum on Arc classes, the one that slides to pick up special ammo and recharge your melee, there's no ammo drops in this mode, so that just doesn't work. That's definitely a downward value shift. Continuing on the value shift discussion, I was talking to my friend Drew about exotic value and whatnot in this, and he came up with the term that he coined about the exotic design archetypes. So he had Power Spike, Efficiency, and Generation as his archetypes. And I think those have a relative value shift. So some examples are Renewal Grasp, Young Ahamkara Spine, and Wormhusk as an example of a Power Spike. Think of those things that really annoy you and that you complain about, probably a Power Spike. Then we have Efficiency, always persistent, something like Speed Boots, Stompies, T-Steps, etc. Then an example of ability generation, like Radiant Dance Machines overriding the dodge cooldown, Throwing Hammer refreshes with other Sunbros, Boots of the Assembler, leeching extended rifts, Stag with a rift on death, and then there's an example of hybrid that takes elements of all 3. I think Necrotic Grip in this game mode is going to be a top pick because it allows for a double melee cleanup and team-wide AoE if you all commit to something like Thorn or the other Weapons of Sorrow. This brings me to my first fun build in Checkmate. It's a new sandbox and a new way to play the game, and I'm taking advantage of that. Since special ammo is earned, I made a build that tried to race for acquiring a super and special ammo at the exact same time in an attempt to snowball the game to end in a mercy, introducing Sprayquaza. The final consideration of feedback in this first week of Checkmate is the new Coke phenomenon. If you look at Emp Lemon's video where essentially in a sample trial there was positive feedback on the new formula of Coke, but when it hit the major market, consumers hated new Coke. The TLDR on this video is that these small sample cups of Coke were enjoyable because they were sweeter, but when you had to drink a whole can, it was sickeningly sweet and not the same. With both the short matches and less skill-based matchmaking, I'm wary of providing false positive feedback on the mode, and it begs these questions. Am I enjoying the mode because I'm able to use the whole sandbox, off-meta things, to leverage my skill against opponents who are using solved meta? Will I dislike the mode when it's 100% plagued with meta outliers like Fighting Lion, Bows, 120s, Ace, melee builds, and those are the only competitive options to prevent a mercy roll? Are lesser skilled players content about the mode due to the bad matches being fast enough to just rip the band-aid off and get the match over? That's up to y'all. Let me know what you think in the comment section. That really covers what I wanted to say today. Again, to reiterate, Checkmate is a phenomenal, great foundation, and they should invest in it more. I hope that they have a fast turnaround on providing changes to the mode. Be experimental with it too. If they want to try an idea and we have to give feedback like this every week, I'm down to do it. So, see y'all in the next iteration of Checkmate.